This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
The shallow earth is where my bones now lay. But the earth keeps sinking deeper and I can't escape. I'm just another soul trying to be saved. This love's gonna carry me to my grave. I'm just another soul trying to be saved. This love's gonna carry me.
The following program is rated MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, Dr. It doesn't matter who the host is.
Oh, it never has, and it never will matter who the host is. There is no doubt about that. I hope everything is good and grand inside of your neck of the woods, because that's always an important conversation. Anyways, today is Thursday, December the 21st of 2023, day 355th of the year, and only 10 days. Yep, 10 days left to go. We are broadcasting from the Safety FM studios in Orlando, Florida, and coming across the multiverse known as Safety FM, and then we are hanging out with our friends and colleagues over there.
Radio. USA, Canada, UK.
Oh, yes, hanging out with our friends over there, over here, over everywhere. So the last 24, boy, has a lot of things happened. You know, it's kind of amazing always on how quickly something can change for you in such a short period of time. And it's amazing what you can do in 24 hours. It's just depending on how you look at it. So let's talk real quick. If you're not familiar with what we do around here, we are a show that talks about safety in the news and safety. Yeah, that's how it goes. So if you come out, hang out, and do our thing here, here's what we talk about. When we talk about the safety aspect, we talk about what's going on inside of the world. Also, if we talk about the news, well, that's exactly it. But we bring some professional broadcasters in to talk about that aspect. Because what I have determined many, many, many moons ago, that you need the professionals to talk about that. You can't have someone like me talk about it because you're not going to take it as serious. That's kind of the way that it goes. So as we go throughout and talk and move and groove, professional broadcasters, if you want to come in and hang out with us, callinradio.com will get you moving and grooving. If you want to see the video aspect, well, you have the opportunity of doing that on the different social media platforms. Now, here's the gig. If you want to interact, when you go to Call In Radio, video messaging, audio messaging, and text messaging. If you normally do anything on the social media aspect, I get to see it, but it's all normally post-event, not pre-event. It's normally post-event. So we'll have to talk about that just to give you some information as we are moving. So there you go. Some information right there for you. And that's it. That's pretty much the show. That brings everything in together. Podcast format, normally around the 10 a.m. scenario, and that's in the Eastern time zone if you want to do some of that stuff. And if not, well, that kind of leaves everything else around and about and all that kind of fun stuff. So, with that being said, why don't we do this? Why don't we move, groove, and talk and all that fun stuff? But we can do it in the following format. Let's go ahead and bring in the professional broadcasters. Yes, I did say the professional broadcasters, and let them broadcast away to their heart's desire. I have Mark Mayfield waiting in the wing this morning, so let's go ahead and go there.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
NBC News Radio, I'm Mark Mayfield. The U.S. is agreeing to a prisoner swap with Venezuela. The Biden administration will release a close ally of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in exchange for 10 Americans detained in that country. The agreement includes the return of 6 Americans who were deemed wrongfully detained. Venezuela has also agreed to extradite Leonard Glenn Francis, a former defense contractor who was at the center of one of the Navy's largest corruption cases and fled the U.S. An additional 20 Venezuelan political prisoners will also be released from custody. Former President Trump's Republican rivals are coming to his defense after the Colorado Supreme Court's decision to ban him from the state's 2024 presidential ballot. Trey Thomas fills us in.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said the decision by the 4 Democratic-appointed justices clearly violated the Constitution because Trump hasn't been convicted of any crime.
Could we just say that Biden can't be on the ballot because he let in 8 million illegals into the country and violated the Constitution, which he has?
In a party-line vote, the court claimed Trump violated the 14th Amendment's insurrectionist ban when he allegedly encouraged violent demonstrations at the U.S. Capitol. I'm Trey Thomas.
Toyota is recalling more than 1 million vehicles for potential airbag issues. Brian Shook has the details.
Toyota Motor announced the recall on Wednesday, saying a short circuit in a sensor could cause airbags to not properly deploy. The recall is for 2020 through 2022 model year vehicles, including various Corolla, Camry, Avalon, and Sienna hybrid vehicles. The automaker says it will start notifying owners about the recall in February. Dealers will inspect the sensors and replace them if needed. I'm Brian Shook.
And Warner Brothers Discovery is in talks with Paramount about a potential merger. Axios reports that the CEOs of each company met in New York City this week. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
Listen at your own risk. Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. The US says serious negotiations are underway over a new truce in Gaza and the further release of Israeli hostages by Hamas. Ukraine says it's holding back Russian forces in a battle for the eastern town of Adviivka. North Korea's leader says he won't hesitate to attack in the event of a nuclear provocation by the US or South Korea. Indian health officials are taking precautionary measures against a potential surge in the JN1 coronavirus variant.
Safety never sounded so terrible. Rated R Safety Show.
The IRS is granting $1 billion in relief to nearly 5 million people who owe back taxes. Michael Kastner reports.
It applies to people and businesses that didn't get automated reminders about their back taxes during the pandemic, and then those who owe less than $100,000 for 2020 and 2021. Interest is still being charged, but the failure to pay the penalty will be waived. People who already paid the penalty will get a refund. I'm Michael Kastner.
The Senate went on holiday break without a deal on funding for Ukraine or border security. The Senate adjourned on Wednesday, and senators aren't scheduled to return to Washington until January 8th. Senate and White House negotiators plan to hold virtual meetings on an emergency foreign aid package over the Christmas and New Year's break, but Congress isn't expected to vote on anything until next month. The Republican-led House shut down for the year last week, and the adjournment of the Democratic-led Senate winds up the most unproductive legislative session in the past 30 years. Since January, Congress passed only 27 bills that President Biden signed into law. American voters are divided if the 2024 presidential election comes down to President Biden and former President Trump. Natalie Migliore has more.
Quinnipiac pollster Tim Malloy says it's a virtual dead heat, with Biden receiving 47% of support and Trump receiving 46%. And Trump is polling far more favorably than other GOP members vying for the presidency.
So much can happen in the next 10 and a half, 11 months. I mean, there's court cases. Both the two leading candidates are older men. You've got Nikki Haley rising. The world is on fire. There's two wars on two fronts.
However, in a three-party race, independent Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is polling at 16%, with Trump receiving 38% and Biden receiving 36%. I'm Natalie Migliore.
And the U.S. Park Police says the Lincoln Memorial was found vandalized Wednesday morning. Officials say the phrase Free Gaza was written in several places with red paint. The vandalism could take several days to be removed. Mark Mayfield, NBC News Radio.
This show is almost as enjoyable as hearing the sound of the toilet flush. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
This portion of the show has been sponsored by Private Internet Access, America's #1 virtual private network, or VPN. Even if you use incognito mode, internet service providers is storing your browser data and many times even selling it. But Private Internet Access, or PIA, can help you. PIA encrypts and reroutes your internet traffic through one of its own servers, hiding your data from your internet service provider or network admin. And with servers in over 75 countries, you can get unrestricted access to geo-blocked content from around the world. PIA comes with easy-to-use apps and browsers extension for all devices, a rock-solid privacy policy, open source security, advanced customization settings, and it was just ranked the fastest VPN in the world by PC Magazine. And if you sign up right now with PIA, you can take advantage of a special deal only for Safety FM listeners. Only by using the following link, you can get the digital privacy for less than $2 a month. Yes, you did hear me correctly, less than $2 a month, and an extra 4 months for free. So that means for only $1.98 a month and 83% off, you can get this service for you right now. That's so much more inexpensive than virtually every other VPN on the market. And if you get it right now, you can take PIA's 30-day risk-free challenge. You can try it out for 30 days, see if you like it, and if not, just return it for a full refund. So just go to safetyfm.com/VPN. That's safetyfm.com/VPN to try out the best VPN on the planet completely risk-free. Now remember, safetyfm.com/VPN.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're going to go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you going to do? You're going to go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You got to dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. No, you won't. Because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
You are listening to something magical. You're listening to the Rated R Safety Show.
Oh, always being tied into magic is never painful. It's always one of those things that I like to hear. It's like, what? Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, magic it is. So let's go from there. So let's talk about it. Let's do it. Let's do all the fun stuff. And here we are again in regard to talking about what the hell is going on in the shit list. This is the Rated R Safety Show, by the way. It's 14 minutes past the top of the hour. So let's get into it. An estimated 40% of student loan borrowers did not make payments on their balance in October as the pandemic era pause ended. That amount is about 9 million missed payments. Those who did not make payments will now will not face any penalties until next September during the year-long on-ramp period created by the White House. Worth remembering, during the pause, the federal government paid the accruing interest on the accounts directly to many loan service companies. And it gets worse. CNN reports that there's potential million more unpaid installments as loan service companies did not get up to speed when it was time for the anticipation of the end of the pause. This is according to CNN. So we're going to see that. We're going to have to determine on how that's working out. There is no doubt about it. So what do you think when you hear something like that? Is that good? Is that bad? Or is that indifferent? Is that ugly? I mean, I don't know. Remember, that was a whole cluster thing about student loans and how that was going to work. And let's not even go into that whole realm of student loans in regards to getting into debt for knowledge. So there you go. Anyways, locals near Sacramento woke up on Tuesday morning to discover dozens of dead geese across roads and parking lots following a heavy storm the night before. Sacramento County Animal Control officers reportedly picked up about 37 goose carcasses on the short stretch of road. One observer said that they felt like they were the beginning of a horror movie. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the movie Birds, and it's all about to go down. I mean, I guess that's one way to look at it. One conservation official say that the active migration season of geese often fly at night, creating a perfect but unfortunate condition and their ultimate demise. This is according to KCRA. So what do you think about that? It's kind of a weird one, right? Imagine that you go outside and you see a whole bunch of dead geese. You're probably going to have some questions, definitely once you get there. No doubt about it. Anyways, new research shows promise for a vaccine that reduces cholesterol up to 30%, but it's years away from hitting the pharmacy shelves. A program inside of the University of New Mexico School of Medicine has developed a shot that significantly reduces bad cholesterol in mice and monkeys. They also believe that once a year, a shot can be manufactured at a scale for less than $100 a dose. Their finding follows a 10-year of research on animals. Now they begin the process of human clinical trials. This is according to the Daily Mail. So what do you think there? I mean, would you take something that you believe that's going to reduce your cholesterol? I mean, there has to be some kind of weird side effect. There's always a weird side effect to some of these medicines. Just think about that as we are talking.
We at Safety FM are not responsible for what this idiot behind the microphone is saying. He is trying to be entertaining. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, here we go. Iceland Meteorological Office reported that this week that lava eruptions at the peninsula have begun to weaken, but cautioned that the new vents could open at any time. So far, no building damage or injuries have been reported, but at least one rescue helicopter was dispatched to retrieve someone who got lost near the eruption. Hey now, eruption site. This is according to the BBC. So what do you think there? After visiting every country in the world, a DJ from San Diego has decided to create his own. Okay. In December of 2021, Randy R. Club Williams bought an 11-acre plot of land in California desert just 2 hours outside of San Diego to establish his own country, the Republic of Slow-Jamastan. Yeah. 2 years later, Slow-Jamastan has all the fixing of its own country, including laws such as being illegal to wear Crocs, its own flag, currency as the double, and the national anthem. Also, there are over 500 registered citizens to Slow-Jamastan, with about 4,500 in line for citizenship. Next up, our Dub says that he wants to build a lazy river, an armadillo farm, and an all-you-can-eat Mongolian barbecue establishment. And, of course, a giant statue monument of the great leader himself. So what do you think? I mean, I don't know. It's a weird one. It is a weird one for sure. So I don't know. Interesting times for sure as we are talking. Do we want to talk about this? Do we want to talk about a wedding? Let's talk about a wedding. After 12 years and 2 kids, Barbie director Greta Gerwig has tied the knot with Noah Baumbach. The two reportedly got married in New York City Hall. She's 40 and he's 54. I mean, at what point do you decide, hey, it might be time to pull the trigger? I'm just asking because, 2 kids in 12 years together and then say, hey, I think it's time. I mean, there has to be a reason why you thought it was time now. That's for sure. So let's do this. Let's bring in some Erin Royale. Yeah, Erin Royale, for her to tell us what the hell's going on with consumer business news.
A vote on President Biden's request for Ukraine aid will have to wait until 2024.
Conversations are going in the right direction. That's very important. Obviously, it's critical for Congress to move forward with our national security supplemental.
White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre told reporters that negotiations are going in the right direction, but Congress needs to act swiftly in January. The administration says the U.S. will run out of resources for Ukraine at the end of the month. Congress this week was unable to strike a deal on funding for Kyiv and border security before the end of the year. Republicans are demanding border policy changes be part of any deal for additional Ukraine aid. Americans who owe back taxes may now have an incentive to pay up. Silvana Anau reports.
The IRS will waive nearly $1 billion in late payment penalties. More than 4.5 million individual taxpayers who owe for the 2020 and 2021 tax years will be eligible. The IRS is extending the olive branch because it stopped sending out many collection letters during the pandemic, which it hoped would reduce its backlog and help struggling taxpayers.
General Motors says nearly half of their Buick dealerships have opted to take a buyout and not be part of an all-electric future of the automaker. There are approximately 2,000 dealers selling Buicks in 2022, and that number has been reduced by 47%. GM unveiled the Buick Wildcat concept in 2022 to preview its future EV lineup. The first electric model of Buick is scheduled to be in showrooms next year with an all-EV lineup planned by 2030. Google will restrict the type of election-related questions its generative AI products will respond to. Ahead of the 2024 presidential election, the tech giant said in a blog post that it's making the changes early next year out of an abundance of caution on such an important topic. Google said it would continue efforts to safeguard its platforms and help users make informed decisions by providing accurate information to voters and providing campaigns with high-quality security. Consumer and business news, Erin Royale, NBC News Radio.
Okay, thank you, Erin, for that information right there. The Dow lost about 475 points to close at 37,082 on Wednesday. The S&P lost about 70 points to close at 4,698, and the NASDAQ lost about 225 points to close at 14,777. West Texas Intermediate closed at $73 a barrel, and Brent crude was at $79 a barrel. The national average price of a gallon of gas was $3.09 on Wednesday. Bitcoin closed right around $43,500 for the evening. Well, it really didn't close. It stays kind of like going as it will. And let's see, there was more than 2,320 flights delayed within, into, and out of the United States on Wednesday, with about 40 such cancellations. Friday night's Mega Million drawing will be for $57 million jackpot or a $28.4 million cash payout. So if you want to play the game, you have the opportunity to do so. So what do you think? Makes you kind of go easy peasy as we are talking, right? Isn't that the conversation that most people have, as a puzzler. I don't even know what that means when I hear that. So let's talk about it because, it is that time. Less than half of adults in the U.S. say that they got their annual flu shot, and even less say that they got the most recent COVID-19 booster. Brian Shook has more.
A Gallup poll found that 47% got their flu vaccine this season, and only 29% got their updated COVID shot. Another 1 in 5 respondents said they still plan to get the booster, but haven't yet. About half said they don't plan to get the updated COVID vaccine. I'm Brian Shook.
Okay, so what do you think about that when you hear it? Is it good, bad, or different when it's all said and done? Have you gotten your COVID booster? Would you get a COVID booster would be the other thing. And also, did you do the flu shot? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what age demo you're in, so I don't want to say the wrong thing here. But, when you get to a certain age, they really push that shit on you. I'm just trying to figure it out if that's something you've done or not. Anyways, California will be challenging a federal judge's decision to block one of the state's new gun control laws from fully taking effect Daniel Martindale has more.
The law slated to go into effect on New Year's Day bans licensed gun owners from carrying guns into many types of public places, even if they have a concealed carry permit. But on Wednesday, a federal judge said the law is unconstitutional and openly defiant of the Supreme Court. California Attorney General Rob Bonta says the state will be appealing the decision to a higher court, adding that the judge, quote, got it wrong. I'm Daniel Martindale.
The judge got it wrong. Really? That's what we're going with in regards of how some of that stuff. I mean, I don't know how some of these things write themselves. So here you go. Let's jump all the way across the country here. A Long Island man is dead in apparent suicide after exchanging gunfire with police on Wednesday morning. Andrew Whitman reports.
Police rushed to a home on Wiggins Street in Lake Ronkonkoma just before 9 a.m. after a 911 call reported a drunken, suicidal man with a gun. As cops arrived, they say Pedro Laureano walked outside and traded shots with police. He then went back inside. Sometime later, Suffolk police say they heard more gunfire. Inside the house, they found the 55-year-old dead from what they say looks like a self-inflicted shot. An investigation is underway. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
Okay, thank you, Andrew Whitman, for that. Let's kind of stay over there in New York. A city sanitation truck colliding with an MTA bus in the Bronx on Wednesday night. Andrew Whitman has the deets.
13 people were hurt with what officials are calling minor injuries, but all of them were taken to hospitals. It happened between 9 and 9:30 at Bruckner Boulevard and Hunts Point Avenue in the Longwood section. There are reports the truck driver hit the bus head-on before crashing into a concrete barrier. The investigation triggering delays on BX5 and BX6 bus lines. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
Okay, thank you, Andrew Whitman. As we are talking, should we talk about this? Let's do this. More than 70 million potted poincianas are sold every year in the U.S., but what happens to them after the holidays? Well, Bree Tennis reports.
It is the plant of the holiday season, but in the end, most get tossed. They're not easy plants to keep alive. According to the University of Minnesota Extension, they're temperamental about the temperature and sun exposure. They need water, pruning, and fertilizing. But the holiday plant is also big business. 70 million plants sold at about $4.33 each. That's $303 million every year. I'm Bree Tennis.
Okay, thank you, Bree, for that one. That's pretty interesting. Let's see. Let's talk about this. The Colorado Republican Party is hitting back at the state's Supreme Court with a decision to keep former President Donald Trump off the 2024 state primary ballot. Colorado GOP Chairman Dave Williams says that he has come up with a plan that will ensure Colorado voters can choose the candidate they want.
We're not going to comply. We're going to do whatever we need to make sure that Donald Trump is on the ballot, but more importantly, people have the right to vote for Donald Trump should they choose.
Williams says that he wants to use the caucus system as he has to. It can be a little complex for voters, but he believes that is the best way to make sure that voters get their voice heard. The Colorado Supreme Court decided that in a 4-3 vote on Tuesday that violated the 14th Amendment for insurrection ban on January the 6th of 2021. When he encouraged the violent demonstration at the U.S. Capitol, his campaign said that he had swiftly filed for an appeal in the U.S. Supreme Court, which would mean his name would automatically remain on the ballot until resolved. Colorado Republican Party Chairman Dave Williams explains their current plan for the caucus system in case Colorado Supreme Court's decision holds up.
Instead, what we're going to be telling our voters is that you need to go to your precinct caucus on caucus night, which is March 7th, and you're then going to elect people that are going to support your preferred candidate.
University of Denver political science professor Seth Maskett said that parties should be ready for a variety of scenarios with so many factors subject to change between now and March.
A little bit unusual, obviously, just because it's a response to a candidate actually being prevented from appearing on the ballot. Starting up a caucus just a few months before Election Day, it's a lot of work to do, but it can be done.
A lot of stuff can be done. I mean, can't you just write them in? I'm just asking. I mean, I want to know. I mean, wouldn't that be the easier way? Threats against Colorado Supreme Court justice who barred former President Donald Trump from the state's Republican primary ballot are flooding social media. Take a listen to what Trey Thomas has to say.
That's what a nonpartisan nonprofit group that conducts public interest research is reporting. Advanced Democracy has identified what it calls significant violent rhetoric against the justices, often in response to Trump's post after Tuesday's ruling on his Truth Social platform. I'm Trey Thomas.
I have to tell you, every time I hear about Truth Social, I totally forget that it was even there. But that doesn't mean much because, I don't keep up with a lot of weird things. That is for sure, as we are moving. Do I want to talk about this? Let's talk about this. Ryan Gosling is giving Barbie fans an early Christmas present, and Trey Thomas has more.
The actor teamed with Barbie, the album producer, Mark Ronson, to release Ken the EP on Wednesday. It features 3 new versions of the wildly popular song I'm Just Ken from this summer's biggest movie. The new renditions include a holiday version, an acoustic version, and a dance version of the song. I'm Trey Thomas.
You know that some people are out there loving that because that song was streaming kind of high when that movie first came out. I'm just letting you know. Hey, to each their own, no duh about that. So there you go. Anyways, community members are remembering a 5-year-old boy who died in a migrant shelter in Chicago neighborhood this past weekend. Advocate Britt Hodgen says that the case highlights the concerns from the community.
We want to hear Mayor's office say that they are going to create a grievance process that is communicated to people inside the shelter. How can people complain when things get unsafe?
Hundreds gathered outside the shelter last night in honor of Jean Carlos Martinez Rivero. The mayor's office says that the child suffered a medical emergency at the shelter on Sunday before being pronounced dead at the hospital. He doesn't appear to have died from infectious disease, but his cause of death is still under investigation. So that's what's going on over there. Take a listen to this. Bloomingfield Township Treasurer Michael Skoschnitt says that Massachusetts man is facing charges for threatening and harassing him using email. 47-year-old Mark Asen says that he told the police to stop contacting Michael, and that when he did not, he was arrested him and he was charged yesterday.
When he went to my family and my children through their school, that's when I went to the police.
Police say that they do not know how Azen was harassing anyone. The suspect is being held on a $50,000 cash bond and is not allowed to leave Michigan if he posts that. What if he's not allowed to leave Michigan? Hold on, I thought it was Massachusetts. So why would he not leave Michigan? Okay, anyways, Bloomingfield Township Police Officer Nick Soiley says that from Massachusetts is charged with being threatening and harassing towards the treasurer. So take a listen to this.
We're in the age of social media and electronic mail and all of this stuff. You're still going to be held accountable for what you say and what you do.
Hold on. Did you just think we got into electronic media? Because that sounded kind of weird. We're in the stage of social media and electronic media. And maybe that's an interesting one to talk about. That is for sure. Anyways, it is 32 minutes past, so let's do it.
Here is our main story on the Rated R Safety Show.
Ta-da! Maybe that is the aspect to talk about today. And listen, let's talk about this. Let's move, let's groove, let's do all the stuff that we can do that would be important during a main story. And people go, well, what the hell would be important during a main story? Well, the story would be the important part because that is the main story. I mean, I think that's the way that it would go. So let's take a look and take a gander into a lot of the weirdness that takes place. And let's talk about electronic recording devices. Now, you can take that for whatever you want. You can take that as your phone, your computer, I mean, you name it, and there is probably an electronic recording device that you interact with in one way, shape, or form. And let's talk about it from the world of business, because I think that is what we're going to need to lean into today. And you're going to probably need to take a look and a gander of what's going on. So if you're not familiar with this, more than likely, if you have a company phone, one that's provided by the organization that you work for, that phone is trackable by the company. That phone is also erasable by the company. That phone is also, well, there's a lot of things that can be done with it, especially if they are the owner of the phone or have any kind of service provided on the phone itself. So let's think about this for a moment. Anything that you do on that phone more than likely can be tracked. Anything that you do on the computer more than likely can be tracked. If you have a car with them, more than likely anything can be tracked as long that you have that as well. Now, let me tell you about this scenario. If you have a computer in particular, most companies put in something known as a key logger. What does that mean? That means for every key that you hit, it actually tracks it. It actually tracks what you're doing on there. They will have also access to your programs, access to your files, because that is what you're doing. And I'm not saying, hey, you need to be paranoid and wear some tin over your head and, put it over your phone and all that stuff. But think about this. Think about how this actually works. If you're being held accountable for everything that happens on your devices nowadays, of course the company is going to in turn go, yes, we need to be able to track everything that's going on. And it makes sense. But how do you feel about that? Do you feel that it's an invasion of privacy? Do you feel that you should be held accountable for 100% of everything that's being done on there? I will tell you, I remember working for a very large organization with repeating letters that they had a check-in and check-out process in regards of people had to scan in with their cards in regards of when they got to the door. The agreement with these cards was if I was walking up, I was not allowed to hold the door open for somebody else because they wanted to be able to scan people's cards as they walked in to verify the time that they were coming in and out of the building. Now, the problem that they ran into was that they were able to verify when somebody was coming into the building, but not so much when they were leaving the building. So I was told that I needed to look for a program that could be put onto all the company phones that would track when they were at a location and when they would leave a location, which I thought was very interesting in regards on how that would work. Now, the fun part or interesting part in regards to that is when you do something along those lines, now all of a sudden you're opening a whole other cluster because now you're putting a piece of software or pushing a piece of software onto phones that will track almost everything that's going on in regards of location services. Now, this was years and years ago, not the same thing on how things are now. Now, if you have a newer iPhone, and I can only tell you that based on the newer iPhone itself, if you are to power off the iPhone, where most people would think that the phone cannot be tracked, well, here's the skinny. When you power it off nowadays, it tells you that it is still being able to be notified on where the actual phone is located. Now, this is not to give you some weird thing about let's talk about finding out where you're at all time, but think about it from the standpoint of this. When you look at this, everything is trackable. Everything is being held accountable. So if you're sending emails about new changes, these things are discoverable if you were in a court case. So how do you feel about this whole electronic things that we do? And let's not even talk about the intranet, not the internet, but the intranet that most companies have inside of their locations. And maybe even any potential social media platforms that are done internally. It gets very weird when you start taking a look into all these things. So when you take a look at this, what is the responsibility of you, your crew, your team members, of what is going on with electronic devices inside of your location? Maybe, if you haven't had that conversation in a long time, maybe it is something that you address pretty soon or address it as soon as possible. Think about it.
Oops! What did he just say?
We at Safety FM don't always agree with the viewpoints of our hosts and guests.
Now back to real safety talk on Safety FM.
Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to the home of real safety talk.
You are listening to Safety FM. We'll be right back.
I know you all want to hit your revenue targets and
get the launch done. Well, making sure that your team knows what to do and how to do it is a huge part of it. So I'm sure that you all do different kinds of training, and I'm willing to bet that you probably use PowerPoint, Zoom, etc. I also bet that when you get someone droning on about a topic using these tools, you probably zone out. And your team does too. I mean, it is a reality of what happens. That's why I strongly recommend a tool called Articulate 360. That makes it so easy to whip together interactive, really beautiful e-learnings that really engages people and gets info across. You can create short-form micro-learning, super interactive courses, and really whatever you need when you're in their site. Then with a couple of clicks, you can send it out and check on it and see the progress of your team. Your team can also check back on the training anytime they want in a super simple portal. Literally everyone uses Articulate. Over 120,000 companies and all 100 Fortune 100 companies. Check it out at articulate.com/360 to start a free trial. That's articulate.com/360 to start your free trial. And don't forget to tell them that I was the one that sent you there.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hacky? Safety trainers still preaching a warped version. How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywords.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
Let's start using cutting-edge warp-speed 5G technology with your cell phone. Let me tell you about my friends at mobilemobile.io. They have an ultra-fast 4G LTE and 5G network that covers 99% of Americans. So they've got you covered everywhere. Think about it for a moment. You have the opportunity to take a test drive for 10 days with unlimited talk, text, and premium data. What is premium data? Premium data is an allotment of a cellular data that you receive from a higher priority on the network. You won't get throttled like you will with some of those, well, non-brand service providers. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to mobilemobile.io. That's mobilemobile.io to start your 10-day free trial.
Hello.
Radio. Big. USA, Canada, UK.
Let me talk to you real quick. What is HelloFresh? With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Spend your time this month shopping for gifts and sipping cocoa, not stuck at the checkout line. Sign up for HelloFresh and get everything you need to whip up a fresh, tasty meal delivered to your door. Just choose your recipes, select a delivery date, and relax knowing the dinner's on its way. HelloFresh has over 45 recipes and more than 100 seasonal add-on items to choose from every week, so it's easier than ever to find something everyone will enjoy. Go to HelloFresh.com/SafetyFM-free. That's HelloFresh.com/SafetyFM-free to use the code SafetyFM-free for free breakfast for life. One breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/SafetyFM-free with code SafetyFM-free. And don't forget that this is why HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit.
Warning. Listening to other radio stations could cause testicle shrinkage.
I'm talking truth.
Radio.
Just another soul trying to be saved. The stuff's gonna carry to my grave. Just another soul trying to be saved. The This love's gonna carry me to my grave. Love and understanding and accepted your ways from the corners of the earth. Now when you scream my name, I'm just beginning to regret you and my ways. 'Cause I was too scared now.
Okay, here we are, Rated R Safety Show, 44 minutes past the top of the hour. Oh, you know how this one goes. This right here, Step Rockets to my grave. Yeah, you know, we do like to do some repeats because I love them. Yeah, a lot of good times around here, especially on this lovely Thursday. Yeah, we're just days away from Christmas. Yikes. Yowza. Anyways, this song's readily available on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music. You got it right there. Give it a little streamer-eamer action. Oh, yes, we're going to have to put that one into our grave. Yep, there you go. Anyways, thanks to Step Rockets for allowing us to play this here. Rated R Safety Show, Radio Big, Safety FM. We get to move, we get to groove. That's always the fun part as we're doing our thing. Anyways, let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Let's move forward. Let's talk about the most important thing that I'm ever going to tell you in my lifetime, and that's about my friends at To Write Love on Her Arms. No matter what you're facing, you deserve to be connected to help. To Write Love on Her Arms wants you to know that people have been where you are now and things can get better. Healing is possible. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to TWLOHA.com. That's TWLOHA.com and click on the section that says Find Help. Once you actually get there, everything kind of opens up for you. It has information, just to name a few, related to addiction, depression, anxiety, eating disorders, self-injury, suicide, trauma, grief support resources. That's just the top line. That's not even going into all the details of everything else they cover. So, To Write Love on Her Arms, TWLOHA.com. Click on the section that says Find Help. That website, I will tell you, can change your life. No doubt about it. TWLOHA.com. Let's continue talking a little bit about some things that are going on, and let's get into the strange, if one can. Your completely unsolicited New Year's resolution. Let's talk about that. Do you want to talk about that? Let's talk about it. We are all snacking too much these days, and in my case, I don't mean just as it's the holiday season, and as you know, it's hard to cut between meals sometimes. But Christopher Taylor, a professor of medical dietetics of Ohio State University School of Health and Rehab scientist, says that the research that they found on snacks contribute to one's full meal worth of calories per day. So that what do we mean when I say that? Rather than trying to stop snacking entirely, he recommends employing a healthier snacking pattern. This means instead of reaching for a high-calorie junk food like potato chips, candy, or other junk, you should be looking for foods that are high in one thing, fiber. Why? It's the only way that helps you feel full. It regulates blood sugar and promotes regularity, among other benefits. So skip the pretzels and Cheetos and consider grabbing artichokes, chia seeds, blueberries, nuts, whole wheat crackers, chickpeas, popcorns, or snacks made from avocados like guacamole or truffles. Fine, but what's for dessert? Maybe that's something to talk about. And are chicken wings high in fiber? I'm just checking, because that seems like maybe a good solution for some of those things. I mean, what do you think? Do you think that that's a good idea, a bad idea? I don't know. I'm just asking the question. Let's talk about Did You Know, because I feel like we haven't done one of those all week. Birthday cards are calling someone over the hill or making fun of them for getting older are so common that many people don't think twice about them. But Sarah Brundler, a co-director of Denver-based anti-ageism campaign, Changing the Narrative, is hoping that you will. Let me go into what she says. So take a listen to this particular portion as we're going. Just made by the racks of birthday cards, opinions that mock older adults. Her group created a contest asking artists to design birthday cards with a more age-positive approach. She says that the winning design and others like them are sending a powerful and important message, although birthday cards may still sound, well, kind of dumb. But she also feels that they've become a prominent example of harmful messaging that can have significant health consequences after all. The way that you think about aging affects the way that you age. Really? I didn't know this. As long as there is a gift card in there, I don't think I care what it says. I don't know. What's your thought process about that? Have you ever been offended by one of these cards in regards of what's going on? Because if you are, that's you, and it's perfectly fine. But it's kind of a weird thing to be offended by, especially if somebody's joking. I don't know. Just something to think about. Anyways, let's talk about this. We changed seasons today, and let me tell you why. Well, matter of fact, let Bree Tennis tell you why.
The official change of season happens at 7:27 p.m. Thursday Pacific Time, when the Earth's pole reaches maximum tilt away from the sun. And that bit of scientific information means today's the darkest day of the year with as little as 6 hours of daylight. But the positive, according to NOAA, is starting tomorrow, we gain about a minute of daylight each day until the summer solstice in June. I'm Bree Tennis.
Yeah, and that's why it jacks up everything for one day after so many periods of time, because then you go, hold on, we had an extra day, and why is that? So there you go. Anyways, a Confederate monument was moved from Arlington National Cemetery on Wednesday. Sarah Bartlett has more.
It came after a federal judge lifted a temporary restraining order preventing work to remove the monument. The group Defend Arlington filed a lawsuit to stop the removal last weekend. The judge dismissed any claims that grave sites were being damaged by the work to remove the monument. The statue has been located at the cemetery since 1914 and features images meant to represent the American South during the Civil War era. It will be moved to the Newmarket Battlefield State Historical Park in the Shenandoah Valley. I'm Sarah Bartlett.
Okay, thank you, Sarah Bartlett, for that information right there as we are talking. Let's talk about this one real quick. Governor Youngkin unveiled his proposed state budget on Wednesday, and Sarah Bartlett has the deets.
He called it the Unleashing Opportunity Budget, and it covers 2 fiscal years, July 1st, 2024 to July 30th, 2026. Some of the highlights include Youngkin saying he wants more tax cuts, but to also increase the state sales tax. He said income tax rates will be cut 12% across the board. There will also be an investment in education, workforce training, and job recruitment. Youngkin also outlined money to reform Virginia's mental health system. In addition, there would be nearly $500 million in investments for environmental and conservation programs. The General Assembly will review the governor's budget plan when it reconvenes January 10th. I'm Sarah Bartlett.
Okay, thank you, Sarah, for that information right there. Why don't we do this and something a little bit more mentally positive? Let's bring some John Smalls in and let him tell you about the Motivation Minute.
The Motivation Minute is courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. Today's quote was submitted by Lucero. Hans F. Hansen said, "It takes nothing to join the crowd. It takes everything to stand alone." Yes, when everyone is saying path A is the way, it takes courage to try path B or path C. I've done this many times, sometimes all alone, other times with a few other crazies who join me for the adventure of a lifetime. Sometimes we find success, other times we found some fun adventures that shaped our lives, and then we got back on track with a different path. Keep in mind, it's harder to blaze a trail than it is to follow a herd. If you're going to take the road less traveled, be ready for a more difficult path. It's almost always more challenging to get there on this path, but it can be fun. This has been today's Motivation Minute, courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. They're known for insurance quotes. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
A study out of Princeton University has found a link between paying unaffordable rent and dying sooner. Researchers discovered that people who paid 50% of their income on rent were 9% more likely to die over the next 20 years than people who paid 30%. Those who shelled out 70% were 12% more likely to die sooner. And health experts say sleeping naked can promote a good night's rest. Studies have shown that cooling your body can help you fall asleep faster, with the ideal bedroom temperature somewhere between 60 and 67 degrees. Cooling your body also promotes better sleep quality, healthier skin, and has even been linked to less stress and anxiety. So even if you're not comfortable sleeping in the nude, health experts say ditching a layer or two of clothing, like that extra sweatshirt you're wearing to bed in the winter, might help you fall asleep faster. Health updates, Sarah Lee Kessler, NBC News Radio.
You are listening to a radio god. What? This has to be an error. That host is not a radio god. Anyways, this is the Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
I don't know what she said, but sounds like it makes a lot of sense to me. There you go. Anyways, let's talk about some things that happened back on this date. If we look at 2020, Moderna COVID-19 vaccine starts being administered in the U.S. It's the same day that President Joe Biden gets his jab, though he opted for the Pfizer vaccine. So there you go. That happened back in 2020. If you're looking at some birthdays for today, Caitlin Deaver turns 27. Otis turns 32. Quentin Bronson turns 34. Stephen Yang turns 40. Mike Vitar turns 45. Emmanuel Macron turns 46. Keither Sutherland turns 57. Ray Romano 66. Samuel L. Jackson 75. Kay Robertson turns 76. And Jane Fonda, she turns 86 today. That's just some birthdays if you wanted to know some. If you're looking at some days of the year to celebrate, well, there's quite a few today. National Short Story Day, International Dialect Remembrance Day, National Cogito Day, Don't Make Your Bed Day, National Short Girl Appreciation Day, Ribbon Candy Day, Look on the Bright Side Day, National Crossword Puzzle Day, National Regifting Day. Yeah, I said that. International Energy Drink Day, National French Fried Shrimp Day. Well, wouldn't it be National Fried Shrimp Day? I don't know, French fried. Okay, and Humbug Day. So there you go. That is definitely some days to celebrate if you're so inclined to do so. So what do you think? I don't know. Are you celebrating any of these? Or are you just going, hey, seems like there's a lot of days, don't know which one I should celebrate? You can say that too. Those things happen. I get it. I understand it. Let's talk about it because we're so close to it. Let's talk about airports will be packed over the holidays, and Mark Mayfield wants to give you some deets.
AAA predicts this holiday season will be the busiest ever for air travel, with Thursday and Friday likely to be the most active days for departures. The record for airline travelers was set back in 2019, when over 7 million flyers crowded the airports. AAA predicts that record will be broken this year. Weather forecasters are expecting good traveling conditions across much of the U.S., though some cities like Boston, New York, and Atlanta could face rain delays. Developing storms could also create turbulence in the Pacific Northwest and in the southern plains. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Okay, thank you, Mark Mayfield, for letting us know what exactly is going on inside of that section of the world. No doubt about that. Anyway, so let's do this. If you need a random joke for today, I have one of those. I hung my Christmas lights on the house across the street so I can see them. Yep, there you go. If you need a phone starter for today, try this. What's one thing you're excited about that's coming up in 2024? If you need a question for the water cooler, try this. In a survey, parents said this tradition is their favorite to share with their kids. What is it? Wrapping presents together. Seriously, that was the answer. Wrapping presents together. Anyways, at the top of the hour, I will be going over to radiobig.fm. If you want to come out and hang out over there, there's some different ways to do that. You go to radiobig.fm, just right there on your web browser. You can go to the app on Live 365, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, or even the Radio Big app that's available on the Google Play Store or on the Apple App Store. That's some availability of doing so. If you don't want to do that and you want to hang out and take a listen to what Sheldon Primus has to say, well, you can do that right here on Safety FM. All you have to do is do the same thing. Go to safetyfm.com or download the Safety FM app. That will do one or the other. Once you get to Sheldon Primus, well, he talks about the world of safety consulting. Kind of a good times, regardless on how you look at it, regardless. Anyway, so here you go. Let's talk about the important part, no matter anything. I want you to know that you're the most important part of Safety FM and Radio Big. Always have, always will be. Keep that in mind as we are talking. If I can leave you with a deep thought for today, I would love to leave you with this. The way you spend Christmas is far more important than the way, Let's try that again. The way you spend Christmas is far more important than how much you spend during Christmas. Keep that in mind, okay? There you go. Anyways, I know who you are.
Duh.
You know who I am. I love you, mean it, and goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.